And we're live.
Welcome back to the Career Capital Collective podcast. We're your hosts, Kayleigh Gaspari
and Sarah Robson.
All right, Sarah, what's our topic for today?
Ooh, how to make money in 2026.
Yes, the thing that everybody is trying to do more of, make more money in this economy.
Yeah, it's obviously hard when salaries are staying as is and things are just getting more and more expensive. I mean,
Yes.
Kayleigh, you're visiting in LA right now, and
Guys, I bought some strawberries last night. They were $25.
$25 Erewhon.
Erewhon, yeah, exactly. So people are feeling it like inflation is increasing, but our salaries are not. So how are we going to continue having a decent lifestyle, making more money when this is a situation?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can cut your costs or you can just try and make more money.
Yes.
I have one friend a very bougie friend, and he always says, you can always just make more money.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. How do you actually make more money in 2026? So an interesting stat is that like 29% of millennials are engaged at work. Like a lot of people are working harder, but they're not feeling the same level of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So costs are higher, but we're not feeling like we're engaged and able to make money in the traditional sense that we used to be able to.
100%. I totally agree with that. So what are you doing about that?
So for me personally, I read this interesting thing called career hugging. It's different than like job laddering or corporate climbing.
Yeah.
So career hugging is this concept that you're staying at your job. You're trying to find a more comfortable, high-paying, stable job instead of really staying out of like loyalty.
Right.
So I think a lot of folks are doing that now where they're just trying to find a job where you can make a decent salary, make money, but then you're doing other things on the side. So trying to diversify revenue streams while still having a stable job is essentially what I'm trying to do. Like I want to do multiple things. That way you're kind of diversifying your risk.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I have found that the jobs that I've historically had, so being in financial services, whether it's private equity or investment banking, it doesn't really allow for more than one revenue streams. It's like kind of all or nothing. However, if you've been following along, you know that I'm at kind of a career pivot and starting my own business. And I'm literally viewing this as being able to start over and start a business, trying a bunch of things. And I have like 7 different ideas to make money. And if something's working, I'll like double down. And if it's not working, then I will back up.
Well, let's dive right into that. What are the 7 things that you're trying? Like talk to me about your different streams, because I think a lot of folks right now are trying to find multiple ways to make money. And it is kind of like you're testing it out, seeing if it's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm literally looking at like the lowest hanging fruit to start off with. So the lowest hanging fruit is using my already established experience. So marketing, investor relations, business development, and finding clients where I can be essentially a fractional employee on a contract basis. So I'm finding in today's economy that a lot of firms aren't wanting to hire full-time as much. So a W-2 employee, they are more open to something that's shorter term, less committal, but it's actually a good experiment on both sides.
Right.
So I'm able to trial run it before just kind of attaching my wagon to them, and they can trial run it as well. So for instance, I just signed on a private equity client where I'm going to be doing business development and origination. So essentially going after deals that hopefully they will then close. And I have like a hourly rate and a commission based off of if the deal closes.
Okay.
And this is one client of kind of many that I'm planning to sign on, but I'm starting with like the lowest hanging fruit. Like I looked at what are my skills? It's business development, marketing, investor relations. And I want something to give me immediate money, but this is like one area.
Right.
And I'm giving it a certain amount of hours. So I'm allocating 20 hours a week to them.
Okay.
But it also allows me more time to do these other revenue streams.
Okay. And so you're kind of leaning into like what they call the tip of the iceberg, right? Which is like you're not going after something that's completely out of your skill set. You're doing something that's already aligned with your skills.
Yeah.
And what like type of advice would you give for folks that are kind of like looking for that contract work?
Yeah. I would use your existing network as like your literally like the lowest hanging fruit is like where I'm getting all of my opportunities right now. Yeah. So I'm literally telling people, hey, I'm starting a business and I'm going to be doing fractional work. Do you know anyone? And I've been telling like all my family, all my friends, all of my network in LA. I am going to be relocating back to Toronto for a couple of months. I'm going to be starting this business in the United States and then essentially sponsoring myself. I feel like I have this like crunch time to really like get this up and running very quickly. But I would tell folks to truly just use your already existing network and just tell people, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
Do you know anyone? And if they don't have anything immediate, that's totally fine. A lot of people don't,
Right.
but then you'll be very top of mind.
That's right.
Yeah. And I also have like a little blurb about what I'm doing that I've been just like texting off to people. And then I also will be making an announcement on LinkedIn.
Right.
I'm kind of trying like all the ways to make myself visible, to be like, hey, I'm looking for opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. And I think making yourself very visible is a topic that we also want to cover today. Like, how do you really put yourself out there so people can help you? Because a big lesson that we've learned is people want to help you. Your network wants to see you succeed, but you have to make it easy for them to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to literally put yourself out there. I've noticed the last couple of firms that I've worked at, the executive teams are getting more and more visible. They are spending more time kind of talking about the company online, like posting on LinkedIn, building their own personal brand. I feel like whether it's kind of being in person at the office or posting yourself online, whether that's LinkedIn, on other socials, like visibility will allow for opportunities.
And that's really important because I think personal branding becomes so much more important in the day and age where you can't necessarily rely on your corporate role.
Yeah.
Like if you want to stay in corporate and climb the ladder, maybe you can attach yourself to a firm or a mentor or what have you.
Yeah.
But if you want the opportunity to break out, like this is something I'm learning in real time.
Yeah.
You really do have to have your brand. People need to know it, understand it, believe in it. Like if you want to take that stride.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the old way of working, which is like climbing the corporate ladder, staying quiet, just sticking to the path, like get promoted every couple of years, like that's just not really working out in today's age.
100%.
Obviously, between tech and AI taking a lot of jobs and things just moving so quickly, I feel like being like very nimble and like advocating for yourself and also just being very adaptable and like trying new things is like the way to get ahead. And I think it's easy to feel behind. I mean, AI is literally like evolving so quickly right now that I think being online, being visible, and then just advocating for yourself is like really the only way to like get ahead, because the old rule book is just not working in today's age.
I totally agree. And the whole idea too with staying at the same company, like that is not how I've increased my salary significantly, like tripling it essentially. Like I did take advantage of hopping to different opportunities, taking different jobs. And I think previously it was perceived like, oh, you're not reliable or, you know, you're hopping between roles. But the best way to make an increase in your salary is to use your experience and use your opportunities to move to something else.
So I love that you just said that. And for someone that's, say, at a job and they're, say, let's just give a number of like they're making 150K and they want to triple their salary. If you're making 150K, how did you essentially triple your salary? Like what strategies did you use?
So I was making around that. I think it was like 120 back when I was a manager working in consulting.
Right.
And I had a good setup and it was like a safe job. But what I realized was what they were billing us per week was a lot higher than what I was actually making. So,
and how did you know what they were billing you? Was this?
I was a manager, so I was in charge of the budget.
Got it.
So once I realized that, I was like, I'm offering my same skill set, but I'm doing something, you know, to make the company money, which to be fair, they had a package, like it was a good service.
Right.
But I got the idea that I was going to start my own consulting business because I was like, if I could even make a portion of what they're billing us and offer the same because I was a manager. So I was like, I'm going to advocate for myself. I started my LLC back. This was when I was 27.
Amazing.
And ever since then, I went into my first client. I remember I was also a fractional kind of like leader in the company. And I said, hey, here's the service I'm going to offer you. It was very similar to what the consulting company was doing, kind of doing like turnaround work, like building the business, scaling it. And I think I went from like 120 to 170. And that was quite a few years ago. So, and then you just build on top of that. Like once you get to a certain stage of like income you're able to make, you build and build and build every time you take a new step.
Right. And I think there's always the power of just negotiation. So I feel like overstating what you want to make and then just knowing you're going to be going back and forth. But if you don't like advocate for yourself to make more money, you're never going to make more money. And obviously corporate jobs, you have these bands.
Right.
I have learned that these bands are completely fabricated.
100%.
And like a corporation can say, oh yeah, you have to be within this band. But if you are an exceptional employee or if they really, really want you, they will be flexible on their band. Also, if you are trying to get a job at a company and they are not going through a recruiter, they are saving thousands of dollars by you essentially
That's right.
getting the job directly.
Like similar type of thing. Coming in at a contract, you're setting your own rates. Like
Yeah.
you can't necessarily negotiate with somebody to be like, oh, your rate's too high. Like, I'm sorry, this is a service I'm providing. This is my rate.
Interesting.
And you need to set your rate at something that is probably more, especially if you're doing fractional executive like contracting work.
Right.
Because you're taking the risk of having the downside of the fact that if you're on contract, you're usually working less hours, or you could potentially like, you're not a W-2 employee. You could lose your job more easily.
Yeah.
So you always have to aim a little bit higher from these bands. I've never been really doing the band thing unless I was working for like an Amazon or something, which is like, you're a level 6, you're a level 7.
Right. And they're unflexible.
Unflexible. And I don't like those rules. Like I don't really like being told what I can and can't make, because to your point, like these rules exist to kind of keep people within their lanes.
Yeah.
And who's to say that the value that you can offer is not above those bands?
Yeah. So making more money in 2026. So obviously you have your full-time job.
Yes.
What other ways are you planning to make money?
So I am planning to buy a company. This is something I have been working on in the background. Like I just got some interesting news that the SBA loans, which are Small Business Association loans, small business acquisition, are going away for green card holders.
I've heard this.
In March.
I heard that.
Which is so annoying. But what I've realized is that I want equity, and I want equity because I know that my skill set is such that I can go in, I can turn around a business, I can double EBITDA as an example. If I were to scale that and then eventually sell that company in 5 years, that's another asset under my portfolio, right? So I have my full-time job, which is more flexible because I have more time.
Right.
And then I have this company that I want to do. So those are kind of the two things I'm mostly focused on right now.
I love that. And then for those that are not familiar with an SBA loan, can you just help us understand, like, why is it that you want to get that? How would that help you buy the company?
Oh, great question. So I just learned about this, honestly. Like I'm part of this network of folks called like entrepreneurship through acquisition. A ton of MBA students are trying to do this. And it's this whole idea that in this shifting environment where there's tech, which is a way to make a lot of money, there's also these boring businesses or like laundromats or things like that that are not so sexy.
Yeah.
From the boomers that are retiring. So people are going in, getting these loans that the government offers called like SBA loans, and they go up to like $5 million. And you'd use that money to go help buy essentially a company so you can have ownership and you can have equity.
Got it.
Now, if you're doing one with real estate, they can go up to like 10 million, and you can go to a bank and you can get pre-approved for these loans. And this opportunity is regular banks wouldn't do something like this. So it's like you go through this like program that's helping to like scale you buying businesses from boomers, essentially.
Got it. Interesting. So you feel like you're on a crunch time to get this ASAP.
I submitted my documents yesterday. I'm like, I need to do this now because I'm a green card holder. So just another
But
thing.
I think this plays on something where when you have like a deadline or a crunch period, that also will help you make more money faster and sooner because you have that deadline. So for myself, I am planning on sponsoring my own work visa in the United States.
Woo!
And to do that, I need to have my business up and running to like, it has to really be operating. I have to have clients. I have to be generating revenue. I have to have like an office space in the US. And I could have easily, obviously, just kind of taken my time with this over the period of like a couple of years. Whereas now my time frame is just literally crunched down to a couple of months where it's on me. I'm creating this deadline, but I want to be able to move back on my own timeline.
Right.
So I think there's something to be said for like having a deadline.
I agree. Saying like, I actually don't have the luxury of time, so you don't end up spinning your wheels and like resting on your laurels.
Exactly.
So let's talk about your E2 visa though, because that's also interesting. So if you're not here on a green card, what are other ways that you can stay and work in the States?
There are a couple of visas. So there's like the TN visa, which is for Canadians and Mexicans. There is an H-1B visa, which is an employer-sponsored visa. That is the one that I've been on for the last several years in the United States. I personally have always wanted to work for myself. I naively thought that the only way to do that was through a green card. Once I get the green card, then I would start a business. And I kept saying to myself, I'll do it when? I'll do it when I get the green card. Do it after this point. And then given my set of circumstances, the green card through my work sponsored visa, all of that kind of disappeared over the last couple of months. And then I learned about this E2 visa, which essentially allows me to sponsor myself. I can start a company and it's giving me like all the things that really I wanted.
Right.
But I do want to have the flexibility to move back to the United States when I want and be able to stay here like without having an employer potentially like rip the cord out like
Right.
from you. So I kind of see it as like taking the power back, but I also need to be making money and it has to be a legitimate business. So
Right.
back to like the topic, which is making money in 2026. I have like this one essentially client that I've just signed on. I also have experience doing events. And so I have been signing on clients ad hoc for these one-off events. And the great thing with events is like, it's like a project, right? So you have an event, you finish the event. If it goes well, great. If you love the client, great. And if it is something you don't want to continue with them or if there's no other events, like you can just move on.
And that's what I love about fractional or like contracted work.
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation where you have control of your time, which I think is so important for millennials right now, like people don't feel like giving up their lives. So even like me with my current role, like I did it because it would allow me to not be so consumed like I was when I worked in tech. Like I didn't have the option to do other things to make second income streams.
Yeah. One thing that I wish I had started back when I first started working, allocating a certain percentage of my salary to investing.
Let's talk about that.
Because that is literally just making more money passively. And these passive income streams that are just like, you have a percentage of your salary that is going towards like a savings account. You don't even think about it.
Right. What have you been doing from that perspective? Like, when did you start learning about this? And like, what are you doing to get ahead of it? Because we were not taught in school how to invest, and it is so important.
I naively just started really putting savings towards investing and maximizing my 401k when I turned 30. So I've only been doing it for 4 years. And I have been working in finance for like almost 13 years. And there was always just this thought as a Canadian living in the United States that I was here temporarily. And so the like 401k matching, all of the employer like retirement matching accounts, I was like, oh, well, why do I need to do that when I'm just here temporarily? I don't want to think about that. And I just wanted more money in my bank account. That money just makes more money. And with employer match, it's literally free money.
And you can do it with your HSA as well. Like I have my 401k maxed out. I have my HSA. And then I also take a portion of my paycheck, like a fairly significant portion, just directly invested.
Amazing.
I have 2 financial advisors that I'm working with to diversify my assets.
Amazing.
I have about like 100k with each of them, so I can see like who does better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like I can get a better picture of like how my assets are performing based on my risk tolerance by doing that. So like I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And I hate that we, especially like women, like it's weird to talk about money, but it's so important for us.
Yeah.
Because it's like this weird, icky subject, but we need to be transparent about it. And like, that's why we want to talk about it here, how to make money and then also how to be smart with your money.
Yeah. I mean, I think being smart with your money really means diversification. Like you really can't have all your eggs in one basket. And I think really this is coming back to like you being, say, a W-2 employee. So you have a full-time thing. You are investing. So you have that stream of income.
Correct.
You have your 401k match. And then you have this like additional business that you're working on kind of on the side. So I kind of view that as like 4 different revenue streams.
Right, exactly. And then on top of that, now that there's some capital that's being built, I'm investing that in other like startups and things that I'm interested to do, like where I'm like on the board as an example, helping my friend launch her clothing company, like things that light me up as well. It's not just about like battling against the risk of losing a job. It's like, how can you diversify so you don't feel so strapped when it comes to your career?
And if one of the like legs of your chair gets pulled from you, you're not kind of left on nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think if you are someone that is just 100%, you have you're working for like the man essentially, and you're working for a corporation. If you have nothing else but that, and then you lose your job, essentially like you realize that like you do need to diversify. So I will say like I first started investing when I was 30 because that is when I lost my job like 4 years ago. And I realized the hard way that because I was not investing, I did not have other streams of income, that like I was not in a good place when that happened.
Correct.
And so I essentially promised myself I never want to be back in that situation again.
Right.
And obviously right now I'm in another transition period, but because I have been through it before, it truly doesn't feel the same. And I'm like, okay, now I feel like I'm not just rushing to like
Right.
the next thing, to the next job or whatnot. I'm like, oh, I actually want to start something on my own, which obviously will take longer. That's obviously a bit more of an upfront investment on my end.
Right.
But
you can do
because I
that.
have a little bit better of like a pad to be able to like be thoughtful as opposed to just like knee-jerk reaction into the next thing.
I love that so much because you learn the hard way the first time and then you think,
Yeah.
I never want to have everything taken away from me.
Yeah.
And then you get smarter just about how you diversify your assets.
Yeah.
And like, you don't need to be stressed. Like, I think what I've learned as
Yeah.
I've become more of an adult is like, we deserve to have calm nervous systems and
Yeah.
like, you can still lose your job and, you know, make a ton of money. Actually use it as an
Yeah.
opportunity to level up as opposed to feeling like you're drowning and you're
Yeah.
so scared, right?
Yeah.
Like empower yourself by having that diversified portfolio.
100%. One of my biggest learnings in kind of this transition period that I'm in, I essentially like left my job. It was about 5 weeks ago now. So it's been 5 weeks and I've been talking to like a multitude of companies, individuals, and it's anything from marketing, business development, investor relations. Like it's on a variety of things, but I am like putting myself out there and because I'm putting myself out there visibly and like on socials, on LinkedIn, opportunities are literally coming my way because I'm putting myself out there. Whereas like 6 months ago when I was working at my company, I didn't really feel the need to put myself out there because I was in my job.
Right.
But I'm realizing more and more in 2026, like visibility is key and you have to have your own kind of personal brand.
I totally agree. That's really good advice. And I'm taking a page out of your books too, because I'm like, I want to empower other folks to learn some of the lessons that we have. Like buying a business, I think it's really interesting. Like Cody Sanchez talks about it all the time. Right. But like in order to help and empower others, like you yourself have to have a good brand and like show that you've done something worth following, right?
Right.
Like there's value to be added.
Totally. So when you buy this business, how are you going to be able to allocate your time towards like your full-time job and then doing this? Like, have you thought that through?
That's a great question. Thank you, Sarah. So I have been actually quite strategic. Like there are ways to still make a corporate job work for you.
Right.
And I think that's a myth. People think like, oh, I have to quit my job and start my own thing. Like I actually genuinely believe you can do both. Like I look to my boss, who's a mentor of mine. He has like 3 businesses that roll up into his holding company.
Right.
So he's like diversified his income, but he's still the president of our company, which is a full-time job.
Right.
So I thought about creating like a holding company and then my husband, as an example, can help me run part of the business.
Yeah.
I think eventually what I would do is I'm partnering with someone. So I'd have like an operator there.
Yeah.
And like, I haven't fully thought through it. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't have the business yet, but I'm like, this is another unlock. This is a way of doing something outside of the traditional system that tells us like what we can and can't do.
Yeah, 100%. I think also shows that the power of the people that you're surrounded by are the ones that you are able to see to believe like what's actually possible.
Exactly.
So seeing your boss do this and like truly the power of like who you surround yourself by. So one of the reasons why I'm even going about sponsoring my own visa and why I want to move back to the United States, because my network here is really a lot of people that are working for themselves, entrepreneurs, and have multiple revenue streams. And so I know that it's possible, but I'm also just surrounded by that.
Yeah. And I think you know, the cliche, or you are who you surround yourself by, but it's kind of the power of the expanders. Like you unlock what you think you're capable of by seeing others around you do it. Like there's no reason why we can't make a ton of money while still having a very fulfilling life. And all of these narratives, I think, are starting to disappear in today's day and age where the rules are not the same as they used to be.
Yeah, they're definitely not. They're definitely not.
So to conclude this episode, Sarah, what are your final thoughts on what you want to say to listeners out there who are going either through a transition or who want to make more money?
Yeah, I think like the key characteristics to have are to be adaptable, to be flexible, and to be open-minded to like shorter term fractional work where it's like a little bit more project-based, but you're not like essentially going all in on one thing. You're diversifying and trying a bunch of different things and doing essentially like experiments and being able to like learn quickly.
Yeah.
And being open-minded. So I'll just end with that.
And maybe failing fast as well, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's not working, then get out of there and focus your time where you're actually going to make the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll just piggyback off of that. Like I made some of the most money in my career. Like I'm doing quite well now, but when I was a fractional executive,
Interesting.
because my taxes were so low. Get yourself an amazing tax advisor, honestly, because when you're a 1099, you can be screwed from taxes or you can write everything off.
Right.
And, if you create the structure of a holding company, there's also tax benefits through that, through real estate and various things. So be smart about what you are making. Don't just let it all go out the door.
Yep, 100%. Well, thank you so much for listening to another podcast episode. Stay tuned for more to come.
Yes, and share and like this with other ladies or folks in your network who are trying to get rich.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in to the Career Capital Collective podcast with Sarah Robson and Kayleigh Gaspari.
We hope you feel inspired and empowered to take charge of your career and build the life you truly want. Follow us on Instagram at Career Capital Collective.